Hello friends, nice to see you here. Welcome to the Wolfmoon Mysteries channel. Here we are talking about the language of symbols and archetypes, common to all people and the language in which our subconscious mind speaks. Today we will look into the Major Arcana archetype symbol, the Magician card, and we'll understand it with the help of archetypes. Before we dive in, I would like to take a step back and give you a very short introduction into the significance of the Tarot and Major Arcana and what it represents on its high level symbology. So let's dive in. So Tarot deck is really an ancient model of the universe that consists of 78 cards and symbols. It can be divided into two parts, the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana. The Major Arcana represents the ether element, the spirit, that is the consciousness behind the form and the many aspects it can take. The 22 cards of Major Arcana are immortal. It's actually an abstraction of consciousness, and its powers is symbolized by the solar system. Interwoven with the Major Arcana are 10 cards, each corresponding to a planet within our solar system. These planets are nodes in a Kabbalistic tree of life, which symbolizes the interconnectedness with all things. 10 spheres or Seraphiot unite to represent the kingdom that is ruled by the king, the sun. Then there are 12 cards that together form the Zodiac, the wheel of the year, and the ecliptic. All of them are the same. They correspond basically the same, but from different perspective. Ecliptic is from the perspective that the earth is going around the sun, and Zodiac is from the perspective about which constellations are around the sun. So they correspond also to the 12 months within the year and 12 zodiac signs, of course. Then from the Major Arcana symbols, the one we looked before is the experiencer. He's the one who goes on adventures and journeys through all the other cards. The Fool is really a symbol of our higher self or spirit self, because it's beyond matter and it can't be measured. So the number 0 is the sign to the Fool. Each Major Arcana cards bear a number, and that number also has a significance. So number 1 that Magician represents beginnings, a birth of something new. It represents that something new has manifested or was born on a plane of earth. Magician is the first aspect that our higher self expresses itself as, and it's our self-conscious, self-aware mind. A part of us that is taking information coming in from the senses, making sense of it, understanding it, digesting it, and part of us that assigns meaning to those experiences. This part of us takes in the world around us and interprets it. This part of us is not perfect. It can make errors, such as misinterpreting or misunderstanding the situation. Why? Because when Magician perceives information coming in from the senses, each of the senses has a limited range of perception. For example, we can say that only certain frequencies, we can see only certain frequencies or light waves. But there exist others that are invisible to our eyes. For example, we can see colors, but we are not able to see the microwaves. We can feel their influence if you use microwave, but you can't see the microwaves with your eyes. So because of this, the Magician is actually looking at incomplete data. It's incomplete in our own understanding. So as humans, when we are not 100% sure about something, we have to make assumptions. We make assumptions. Sometimes those assumptions are not correct, and then further judgment on these incorrect assumptions leads into further misunderstandings and errors. We many times make assumptions, and it's not a bad thing. We need this because it allows us to operate more efficiently as humans. However, assumptions are also making us prone to misinterpret situations and misunderstand them. So now let's look into the numerology of tarot. In the beginning, tarot cards, as we know them today, didn't have numbers. Looking at the decks from 14th century Italy, you will see that no numbers are assigned to the major arcana. I have here Visconti's Forosa Tarot deck, and these are the major arcana cards from there. And as you can see, this is the Magician. And as you can see, there are no numbers at all assigned to any of these cards. Very beautiful cards, by the way. So this is deck. Basically, these are the cards that were made in early around 14,050s in Milan. It's one of the earliest tarot decks that as humanity we have saved. And it's also intriguing to note that the practice of assigning numbers to the tarot cards is relatively modern. It's like a modern esoteric interpretation. This concept was born from the associations of cards with the Hebrew alphabet letters. Those Hebrew alphabet letters formed the basis of the tarot sequence as we know it today. Magician corresponds to the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is called Beth, and it translates roughly as a house. It talks about how the Great Spirit has taken a physical form. The house is a symbol of our body. And we experienced it as our self-conscious mind, which is aware of the world around us. It takes in impressions from the world, analyzes them, and uses them to build an understanding about the world and how it really works. Each card also has an astrological correspondence. It can either be a planet or a zodiac sign that is assigned to it. And the Magician corresponds to the Mercury planet. It's the first planet from the Sun, and because of this, it's the closest planet to the Sun. So, next we can look into the Magician as part of the human personality. So what is the self-conscious mind in our human personality? What does it mean? So it has three functions. They are data in, data out, and interpreting the experience. Data in is part of us that takes in information from our senses about the world around us. Then that data is used to interpret the experience and assign meaning to the experience. And then as people, we also interact with each other through speech, writing, making videos, and etc. This is us making impact on the world around us. And this is data out part. Now let's dive into the understanding of the Magician symbol through archetypes. Archetypes can be divided into a spectrum. On one side, there are archetypal forms that the Magician takes when the personality skillfully navigates this archetype, and then on the other hand, when the person chooses its shadow side instead. How does it look when the Magician is successfully navigated? Some examples. The person uses their skills and observation to help someone overcome a challenge. Could be one example. The person who thinks long term and who sees a bigger picture. The person who is able to observe that which exists on a subconscious level, that most people are not aware of, and bring it to the conscious awareness. It's also skilled at reading the energy in the room. Someone who trusts its intuition and gut feelings and uses their feelings as a compass to help to navigate life. It's also someone who listens to his own feelings and sees them as a feedback system. They are people who are also honest with themselves and don't hide the way they feel or any facts that they don't like from themselves. And don't hide the way they feel, basically. Because sometimes people hide from themselves this. And instead, these people are seeing all there is. Even the things they don't like or that they don't want to see. So what are some archetypes that correspond to navigating the Magician successfully? It could be miracle worker, magician, alchemist, inventor, shaman, wizard, and many others. I also would want to give us some real-life examples of people who have actually mastered this archetype, according to what I think. So first one is David Blane. In my opinion, he has achieved mastery and understanding of his own body. His tricks have pushed the limits of what other people think it's possible, and it's amazing. Another example could be Nikola Tesla. He achieved mastery of understanding electricity and electrical currents. Thanks to him and Edison, we can charge our laptops or mobile phones and even have a light in our rooms in the evening. That was not really possible before. And as third example, I would mention Leonardo da Vinci. He was a master of perception as an artist, and there are many secrets and secret dimensions hidden into his art. And he was not only an artist but also an inventor as well. There are others, of course, as well, but these are the three that I chose this time. Now let's talk about Magician Archetype when it goes wrong. Such a person would use their skills to achieve a selfish goal. Such a person would only think short term, see what is only in front of them, not seeing further away at all, and would only look for the immediate benefits that are at the current situation. And also, this person would not really be very honest with themselves. These people tend to hide truth about something from themselves. What could be the magician archetypes that have gone wrong and where the magician has lost its path could be, and examples would be cult leader, scammer, trickster, con artist, thief, and some others. The real life examples of the magician gone wrong, interestingly enough, I have selected 3 examples that all have a Netflix documentary made about them. So if you want to find out more, I'll tell you the names and you can go and watch as well to find out more information. First one would be Gilbert Chiquili. It's a French scammer who became notorious for impersonating a high-ranking officials to extort millions of euros. He made even a mask of a politician that he put in a Skype call to basically get money. And this Netflix documentary that is exploring his story is called The Masked Scammer. Then second example I have chosen is Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was a former stockbroker and investment advisor who ran a massive Ponzi scheme for decades. He promised investors high and consistent returns, but instead used new investors' money to pay out returns to earlier investors, creating an illusion of success. His scheme eventually unraveled in about 2008, causing billions of dollars in losses for individuals, charities, and financial institutions. Madoff was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 175 years in prison, where he died in 2021. There are actually 2 documentaries made about his story. The first one was produced by BPS and in about 2009, and it was called The Madoff Affair. And the second one is by Netflix called Madoff, the Monster of the Wall Street, and that one was from 2023, a bit more modern. Then the third one I'm choosing is John of God. His name was actually Joao Teixeira de Faria. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it is a Brazilian self-proclaimed psychic surgeon and faith healer. He was running a healing center and attracting a large following who believed he could cure illnesses through spiritual means. Facing accusations of sexual abuse from multiple women and being convicted in prison in Brazil in 2019. I'm actually not sure if he went to prison. Need to check that later. If you know, you can put in a comment as well. Now he has a Netflix documentary series exploring his story called John of God, The Crimes of a Spiritual Healer. He was more like a cult leader and scammer, at least in my opinion, and appears to be a miracle worker on a first glance, but the more you look into it and into him, the crazier the story becomes. And if you want, you can check those documentaries and find out about more about him yourself. So what is the main difference between getting it right or getting it wrong? In both cases, magician possess more awareness and knowledge about something, or maybe better said, that they see what some people miss to see. Because of this, they have a moral responsibility to not abuse their knowledge and instead use it to help and not harm the other person. For example, they can help others to see further than they could on their own. Magician, by showing their tricks and illusions, makes us aware of our limited perception, and ultimately, they help us to become more aware of ourselves. Now we have come to the end of the video. I'm just going to summarize what we have done today. So today we talked about Tarot being the model of the universe. The Magician is part of Major Arcana, representing different aspects of the consciousness. We looked into its numbering, and that number 1 represents beginnings. We looked at the Magician corresponding to the Mercury planet, and Mercury represents the self-conscious awareness within ourselves, and we looked also on what it means. Next, we talk about how to navigate this archetype successfully with some real-life case studies as an examples of people who have managed to achieve that. And then we looked how it looks when the Magician archetype has gone wrong and it's not successfully navigated. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video and you want to see more videos about full archetype, click here on the screen. And it's my first video actually on YouTube, the one on about fulls. This one is the second. Bye for now and have a lovely day.